get it, bro. A spring. Why the fuck are there dash panels on this thing?
This is so Forces Control. Oh my god, this is Forces Control.
I feel like I'm supposed to be jumping out of my seat in excitement, but I'm not.
I really learned nothing from this.
That looks so fucking boring.
I need a little bit more than that.
We all seen the gameplay reveal a few months back and all laughed at it, but I'm here to tell you that this game is amazing.
I did enjoy myself with the time I had with it, and I really want to see more of the story.
So far, this is definitely looking to be the best part of this game, which is quite honestly good to say, seeing as this is the new big thing Sonic Team are trying, and from what I played, they've done a great job with it.
But I think I should just dive into my final thoughts right now, seeing as we're close to Sonic Frontier's release. My overall impression of the demo was that this was really, really good. I had a lot more fun than I was expecting.
Sonic Frontiers, let's do this. In 2017, we were given the latest 3D Sonic game in the lineup, Sonic Forces, and with the reception from fans and critics alike, Sonic Team began working on the next game just 2 months after Forces came out. Morio Kishimoto concluded that Sonic Team's method of designing levels that originated from Sonic Unleashed would no longer satisfy fans. Sonic Team ultimately determined that the series' traditional linear design contained little room for evolution, and felt it could not progress in this direction. Takashi Iizuka in particular felt that 3D Sonic games were not giving players enough freedom and constrained them to linear paths. He also decided that whatever direction Sonic Frontiers would take will be the basis of what future 3D Sonic releases will follow in the upcoming years, similar to how Sonic 1 and Sonic Adventure did. In 2019 at South by Southwest, we were told that production of the next major Sonic title has started, but it wouldn't be until 2021 where we finally got a teaser of what the game would actually be. It was also during this time many fans started to grow tired of the tropes established in the 2010s unofficially named Meta Era by most fans. Many fans felt that the style of writing in particular needed a serious overhaul from what's been established so far, to the point where fans were campaigning longtime Sonic comic book writer Ian Flynn to write stories for the games instead. And believe it or not, Sega actually listened! Ian Flynn was tasked of writing the English dialogue for Sonic Frontiers, and to many fans' delight. Now, as far as the actual gameplay goes, sometime around the pandemic, Sonic Team began playtesting the game to a select few individuals in the United States, and have been asked to give their thoughts on what they thought of the game so far. And when I heard this, I was like, yes! Yes! This is exactly what I wanted Sonic Team to do after Forces, and they're actually fucking doing it! Like, thank you! Now fast forward to Sonic Central 2021, we were first teased at Sonic Frontiers with a very short CGI trailer that had an odd symbol, leaving fans very confused. And then in December we got to see more CG footage, but this time we saw the world of where the game was actually taking place. And then we ain't hear shit for like 6 months. And then, a couple months later in June, IGN was assigned to give us the world premiere of what Sonic Frontiers would look, and it did not look good. The gameplay looked boring, there were frequent pop-ins, it was low-key a mess. This prompted fans to beg Sega to delay Sonic Frontiers after showing the initial videos of footage, but Sega stuck to their guns and told his fans to just shut up and watch. But as the months passed and public demos became a thing, people were actually enjoying Sonic Frontiers and giving it their optimism. Even some of the most cynical Sonic fans were looking forward to this release after finally giving it a play for themselves. Now as for me, I refuse to accept it. Look, I'm sorry, okay? After the disappointed state Sonic Forces left me in, I refuse to let myself get excited for this. There are times where, I was looking forward to it, like when I saw it back in, I want to say, when was it? The Game Awards? When I saw it back at the Game Awards, I freaking lost my mind, but I still thought to myself, like, this game could still be garbage. And, the cynicism and, the adult side of me, the realistic side of me was just like, this game could still be garbage, so you just want to keep that hype beast down. But then when the game finally released, well, I think we should move on to the next topic. story begins with a brief cutscene of Dr. Eggman already on Starfall Island and has encountered what seems like a cyberspace portal. He uses this machine to hack it, but because of this, he's gotten himself trapped in cyberspace. Next, we see Sonic, Tails, and Amy flying on the tornado to Starfall Island to find the whereabouts of the Chaos Emeralds. But once they reach closer, some weird energy sucks them all into cyberspace, leaving Sonic to be the only one who can escape. Once he does so, he is greeted by a mysterious voice telling him he's the key, and he needs to find the Chaos Emeralds, destroy the Titans, and that's it! Now it's time to start playing. We acquire the first Chaos Emerald, then are free to roam Kronos Island to our heart's content. A short while later, we find Amy trapped in some sort of cyberspace jail. When we free her, she suggests that Tails is trapped too, and Sonic begins to explore more of Kronos Island. A couple minutes later, after the second emerald, one of the Titans appears out of nowhere and tries to crush Sonic under its leg. The girl controlling the Titan, named Sage, warns us to not approach the Titan and tells Sonic to leave. But this only prompts him to action as he presses on to defeat the Titan, which concludes with Sonic getting fucking yeeted across Starfall Island. And he goes unconscious for a bit. Then he says he may need the Chaos Emerald to defeat the Titan, and that's exactly what we do. In the midst of the emerald collecting, we see Amy talking to one of the Cocos, these little creatures that reside on Starfall Islands, and the Coco is trying to express their feelings to their one true love and reunite with them. So we help the Coco do just that by performing various minigames. But we encounter Sage once again, and she begins her vague as hell reason to why Sonic should leave the island. After completing a cyberspace level, we get a small update on how Eggman is doing after being trapped in cyberspace. Shortly after we finish finding the Coco's one true love, we then get a brief callback to the status of what happened to the two Coco in what I like to call the events before the Great Cataclysm. We also see what the Cocos look like in those events, and they look oddly similar to how Chaos Zero did in Sonic Adventure. Interesting. In the next cutscene, we also learn that the girl who's harassing Sonic is also named Sage, even though I just said it earlier, and is working for Eggman. And I'm not sure if she was created by him or just being controlled by him. Either way, she's assigned with dealing with Sonic and keeping Eggman safe from cyberspace's danger. But then we see a hint of how Sage is taking that second part of her job description a little more personal than normal. When we see Amy a few minutes later, she tells how the Coco had a love that transcended time and how she wants to share that love with everyone else in the world. Sonic tells her that she'll do great and says to tell him all about it when she gets back. And then Sonic is ready to face the Titan from earlier with 6 of the emeralds in his possession, but he's currently missing one, which we later find out is actually on the Titan's head. We then learn that the Titan's name is Giganto, and then begins Super Sonic versus Giganto, and then Sonic wins. And that's the end of the story. Nah, I'm just kidding. So once Super Sonic wins the fight, one of the ancients inside the Titan start yelling something that Sonic can hear. And then the mysterious voice from the start of the game tells Sonic to go do the next island, and basically do the same thing. Unfortunately, Amy is still trapped in captivity, so Sonic gets the impression that in order to free her and Tails, he needs to get rid of all the Titans. Super Sonic races towards Ares Island and crash lands into the floor after getting hit by these lasers, which coincidentally knocked the Chaos Emeralds out of him. I'm assuming the energy used in those lasers were the same ones in the electricity in Sonic Unleashed. And then begins the journey of the second island. Sonic discovers that the person who is trapped here is not Tails, but actually Knuckles, which us fans would have known about if you were paying close attention to the Knuckles prologue. Or if it got spoiled from the people who played the public demos like how I did. Kill me. During the rescue, Sonic and Knuckles are giving each other these really weird looks at one another, and all I could think to myself was, man, they want to mock each other so bad, bruh. It makes sense, Sonic and Knuckles are friendly rivals after all. After we get a Chaos Emerald, we are then interrupted by the second Titan, and Sonic already knows he can't win against the Titan, so he decides to run away and hide. Sage once again tells Sonic to leave, and that's it. We go back to check in on Knuckles, only to be interrupted by Sage, yet again, saying how Father was right about Sonic as she tries to block him on Twitter. Knuckles saves Sonic from the blast and immediately charges towards Sage, but Sonic stops him and tells Knuckles that she may be protecting something or someone, which we know is Eggman because of the Kronos Island scene with the two of them, but Father? Weird. And now it's time for Knuckles' relationship with the Coco. Knuckles wants to help the Coco reconnect with their lost units since Enemies has them pinned down, so naturally Sonic helps them do that. Once reunited, we get another flashback to the events before the Great Cataclysm, where the reunited soldiers are fortifying their barricades, and Knuckles is impressed by their defenses and says he should do the same for his island. But of course, it's not strong enough to save them from the inevitable. After that, we see Eggman and Sage sharing a father and daughter moment, and Eggman promises that he'll give her access to the whole Eggnet, and that she'll be a refreshing change of pace from Orbot and Cubot. Sage questions if Orbot and Cubot are her brothers since they were all created by Eggman, and says how she looks forward to that. Aw, poor Sage just wants a family. She also explains to Eggman about how Sonic can basically pop in and out of cyberspace all he wants, and Eggman is not even a little bit surprised at the fact. Sage questions Eggman's relationship with Sonic, and he tells her that he does respect Sonic, but that does not mean he likes him at all, unlike Sonic.
Baldy McNose hair.
In the next Knuckles Coco quest, Jesus, the alliterations, Sonic rounds up the straggling Coco who didn't make it to their bunker. So we do that, then Knuckles is astounded by the bunker, and it even reminds him of Angel Island. They even show a brief screenshot of Sonic 3. And when I saw that, I gasped, because I did not expect them to pull a reference like that. But my excitement was short-lived as enemies show up to attack the bunker. And Knuckles all of a sudden seems to care deeply about the bunker, since it seems like the ancients have settled on Angel Island at one point. So we obviously take them out, thus concluding Knuckles' Coco quest. The Coco soldiers salute Sonic and Knuckles off before their death, which was pretty cute, not gonna lie. And that's that! Later that day, we have Sonic and Knuckles having a sit-down talk about what went down with the Coco. Knuckles says that the events of what happened to the Coco are pretty similar to what happened to the Echidnas, and reminding Knuckles that he's alone and he's the last of his kind. Sonic reassures him that yes, he is the last, but he's not alone and that he has all his friends. Knuckles says that he is envious of Sonic's lifestyle, but Sonic tells him to just do it, and that gives Knuckles the clarity to actually attempt it, once he's rescued out of cyberspace, that is. The two of them share a laugh and a fist bump, and Sage is even listening to that whole conversation and realizing that Sonic is helpful and is quick to make peace, but reassures herself that they're still fucked. And now it's time for the boss fight of the second island, yada yada yada. Sonic only has 6 of the emeralds, the Titan has the last one, the boss is called Waver, Sonic climbs up the tower, reaches his body, Super Sonic appears, Super Sonic wins. Easy. And now it's time for the third island. Now onto the third island where of course the emeralds get taken from him once again. We finally meet up with Tails, but after rescuing him, we see that all the cyberspace stuff that absorbed into Sonic when first rescuing Amy is starting to get the better of him. And that's present throughout the whole island. In cutscenes, he's seen walking with his hand on his body, the standing pose has his hand on his head. I low-key feel bad for the man. Oh, and this is the island where I first discovered Big, so let's get a lot of questions that I initially had under the way. So in the fishing minigame, you can unlock tokens based on what you catch. It can vary from 4 all the way to 64 tokens. But you can use those tokens to unlock stuff like items to upgrade Sonic's strength, defense, etc. But also, you can unlock Eggman voice logs while he's sitting around just exploring cyberspace. And here's some of the stuff that we learned from listening to all of them. So Eggman created Sage. She was made for the sole purpose of accessing the Ancients' data. The cyberspace levels takes regions from South Island, West Side, and Angel Islands respectively, which for those who don't know are the 3 islands where Sonic's 1, 2, and 3 took place. Which explains why every single cyberspace level has only 4 aesthetics. The cyberspace levels are taking data from all elements of Sonic's world, which explain why certain cyberspace levels are very similar to other level designs in Sonic games. The Ancients, in fact, are relatives of Chaos, so it's a good thing I recognize that. It's a good thing that I finished SA1 a couple months ago on stream now. Also, Eggman really does care for Sage and treats her like a daughter. There's some other stuff in those voice logs as well, but I won't spoil it for those who want to hear it for themselves. Even though I'm assuming most of you have already heard them already, because I'm basically spoiling this game dry, so, yeah. Anyways, back to the story. So Sonic encounters the Titan of this island and gives chase from one of the mini-bosses, which in this game refers to as Guardians. So once we escape its wrath and it completely decimates the Guardian, it's back to hunting down the collectibles. During that, however, we meet up with Tails saying how one of the portals is linked to cyberspace, as he attempts to repair it, but there is no need as we then get to see another event before the Great Cataclysm. In this one, we see a bunch of ancient power lasers shooting up at their enemy, but of course, the enemy's power is too strong and sends the whole place in ruin. After witnessing that, it's now time for Tails' Coco quest. The Coco Tails tries to help is an apprentice to their top pilot and needs to find the parts to complete their weapons. We fix it, but the Coco's hero didn't show up and is worried about him. This leaves Tails to look back on his past actions, more specifically in Sonic Forces, where Tails was basically a crybaby bitch that whole game. So if it wasn't already obvious, these Coco quests lead the side characters to wonder about themselves, which leads Tails to ask Sonic if he's a burden to him. He talks about how whenever the going gets tough, all he does is just stand there and do nothing. Or runs away like a bitch. However, Sonic reassures him about the great accomplishments he's done, like saving Station Square from Eggman, or the time he stopped Sonic from going inside the trapped capsule in Lost World. He then tells Tails that it's okay to ask for help, and it's just part of growing up. But Tails still wants to go alone for a bit, and says he can't grow into his full potential if Sonic is always around him. That's it! Standalone Tails game, y'all! Okay, but seriously though, after that moment, we see Sage crying from what she just witnessed, saying how the friendship of Sonic and Tails is beautiful, and all she wants is just a family born of love. And then we see a brief montage of all the moments between Sage and Eggman with some really emotional music, and honestly, when I saw this cutscene, I thought this shit was cringe! Like, yeah, I get that Sage sees Eggman as a father, but like, nothing happens in the story to really put emphasis on it unless you played the fishing minigame. And even though I played it, it still feels kind of shoved in. I wanted her to be somebody who just put Sonic through all that harassment because, I don't know, she was part of the Ancients or whatever. Ugh, never mind. So Tails tells us how to open the sealed off door to reach the 6th Emerald, and in order to access it, we need to play pinball? What? Once we reach 5 million points, Jesus Christ, we beat the game and get the 6th Emerald. And now it's time to fight the Titan called Knight. And honestly, there was a really missed opportunity to play Fight the Knight from Sonic and the Black Knight. So same old, Super Sonic versus Knight, he wins, a random flashback to the Ancients, and on to the next island. Now the 4th one switches things up a little different than usual. The 4th island has 6 ginormous ass towers formed, in which Sonic is told to take out by the magic voice lady. We also see Sonic starting to lose himself a little bit, and the cyber corruption is starting to be too much for him. Now with these 6 towers, we learn a little bit more about the Ancients and who they were. So the Ancients, along with the Chaos Emeralds, are from another planet that was wiped out by the Great Cataclysm. With the Emerald's power, only a select few survived and were able to escape. As the Ancients pass by Sonic's world, the Chaos Emeralds are being drawn to the planet by the Master Emerald. They uploaded their memories, dreams, hopes, basically their souls into cyberspace. Oh, and I should probably mention, with each tower Sonic takes down, the more cyber corruption goes into him. It's starting to get really bad. Anyways, back to the Ancients. They built the Titans that are powered by the Chaos Emeralds to help battle against the Great Cataclysm, cause it followed them to Sonic's world, cause I guess these motherfuckers will never know peace. And the final flashback shows that the Titan Sonic faced earlier against the Cataclysm, and the one we haven't fought yet has been taken over by it, and is basically dead. As for the other 3, charge into the enemy to honor their lost brother in arms, ending the flashback. However, things for Sonic aren't so pretty. The cyber corruption was too much for him, and now he has been sucked into cyberspace, while saving Amy, Tails, Knuckles, and Eggman. Sage warns Eggman that he must go back into cyberspace even though he literally just got out. That's because now that Sonic has shut down the last tower, the Cataclysm is back and is ready to fuck up Sonic's world this time. However, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy decide to bring him back by driving back the corruption, so the 3 get sucked back in while Sonic is out. Before that though, they all give their final words and boom! Sonic's back, baby! And now Sage has an idea of how they can win the battle, but in order to do that, Sonic and Eggman will have to work together. Eggman denies it at first, but the power of his daughter Persuasion is too strong, so Eggman agrees to help. And now, we go back to the Collectathon journey. It was also at this point where I was fed up with collecting the memory tokens, so I just decided to do Big's fishing minigame and gather up all the ones I needed to progress. So we need to open the door to get the 6th Emerald, just like in the 3rd island, but this time it's just another space shooter minigame, which I thought was actually fun for those levels. Key phrase, for those levels! And just like that, we got it, baby. And Eggman actually helped us and found the last emerald. And now it's the final boss, Super Sonic versus Supreme. And then we win. And that's the end. Okay, last one, I swear. So it turns out, after Supreme died out, it retreated into space to regain its true form. What is the final form, you may ask? Well, it's actually a moon? Okay, that's pretty boring. I mean, hey, I'm pretty sure there's a second phase that will come that will be even greater than all the bosses we faced. Oh, the story's over. And that's the end of the game.
That's it?
Yeah, that's legit it. All that happens is Sage takes Supreme's body, goes with Sonic into space, you have to do the final boss in space shooter form, and once you beat that, all that happens is Sage throws Sonic at the end, that's the final boss's name, and it's about to explode, and Sage sacrifices herself to prevent it from destroying Sonic's world, and then that's it! Tails, Amy, and Knuckles return with Super Sonic flying down from space. With nothing to say about Sage or the ending, he just celebrates with his friends on a job well done, and Eggman just stares off into the distance, and the credits roll! We get a mid-credits scene of the main 4 talking about what they're gonna do after this game, and a post-credits scene of Eggman trying his damnedest to rebuild Sage, and it seems like he was successful, so Frontiers 2 will most likely happen. And that's the story, mostly. Now, honestly, despite the pretty lame ending, I thought this story was pretty enjoyable, especially the interactions between characters. I really enjoyed the moments Sonic and Knuckles have especially. However, there are a few gripes I have with the story. I feel like it dives a little too deep in the callbacks and references that I feel anyone playing their first Sonic game will be dumbfounded at some of these lines. But overall, the writing was a hell of a lot better than the previous years of Sonic, and I hope to see better written Sonic games in the future. As for the ending, okay, hear me out on this. I feel like that was intentional. I feel like it was supposed to be half-baked, and here's why. Personally, I would have felt that Sage should have had more of an arc in this story. Like, they build upon her relationship really slowly, and then it just gets amplified hard towards the end of the third island. And like I said earlier, if you don't have the established context from the fishing minigame, you'll probably feel that Sage's tone shift was kind of sudden. Now, as someone who did have the established context, honestly makes the ending worse in my opinion, because after Sage sacrifices herself, we get no thoughts from Sonic or Eggman. Like, even some final words from Eggman would have been good. It honestly makes the ending feel a little bit rushed, not gonna lie. And to be honest with you, I feel like it was done on purpose. 2 reasons. One, because if you look at the digital art book, you'll see that the enemies have 5 artistic changes, which makes sense considering that there are 5 islands. But in the game, you only see 4 out of the 5. I have never encountered a golden one, like, ever. I don't think they're in the game at all. Now, if I'm wrong, please somebody let me know, because I haven't encountered a single one. But like I said, I feel like the ending was kind of half-baked for an eventual Sonic Frontiers 2, because there's still one more question I have. That being, what the fuck does this symbol mean? This was the first thing they showed us in the trailers, and the last thing you see before the game ends. What does it mean? We don't know. I was told that the symbol was going to be something told in the story, but all you did was show it when the Cocos fucking died. Am I missing something here? Regardless, I really did enjoy the story, despite its flaws. Now, in terms of the game itself, well... Now, Sonic Frontiers takes the Hedgehog in a new form of gameplay they're calling Open Zone, where basically Sonic has no set end goal in place, and the level is a giant map where you can explore with objectives letting you know what to do in order to progress to the story. Kinda similar how Super Mario Odyssey was structured. Sure, there are notifications to tell you what to do next, but you can legit go anywhere you want in that level and just go at it, which is a first for the series. Sonic's controls are actually pretty damn good, to be honest with you guys. It's been a while since I was able to go in a circle with Sonic without him having to stop to turn where I want him to go. Granted, he still does that here if you spin the controller too fast, but compared to how it's been in Generations or Forces, this was a nice change of pace. Gave me some Sonic Adventure vibes being able to go in a circle at full speed. I do hope they keep this control scheme for the next game. Please? One tiny critique I do have though is when you initially jump, the momentum that carries over in the double jump is kinda too much for my taste. I also fucked up getting some red rings because of the double jump because of that shit. Also with this new style, there are new enemies to fight with Sonic having combat to help deal with these enemies. Now there was combat done with Sonic in the past, but most of them didn't stem away from the homing attack or those 1-2 punches in the case of Knuckles. Surprisingly, this game has even less combos than there were in Unleashed with the Werehog, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just a lot of moves in Sonic Frontiers feel very much like glorified cutscenes compared to how Sonic Unleashed handled it. But I did have fun with the combat personally. I definitely enjoyed stringing together different styles of combos to get the most damage possible. Now as far as the enemy themselves go, there's about 7 types of enemies you'll encounter outside of the Guardians. And for the most part they're fine, just basic small fry, except for the soldiers. Some will put up a shield not letting you damage it, and in order to get past it you need to either do a side loop or dodge behind it, which can get tiring to do on multiple of them. I sure as hell did. There was also this one enemy who I believe its name was Baller?
I'm tired of seeing it.
I could be wrong on that. Anyways, attacking him with normal melee attacks was not working, and the efficient way to kill him was to use either Sonic Boom or Cross Slash, the ones where Sonic throws projectile moves at enemies. And this enemy kind of became a meme in the community, as you can see from this video. Spotted! Now the fundamentals are good and all, but oh boy do I have some issues with this. First of all, the amount of collecting I had to do got very tiring very quickly. Like by the time I got to the 5th island, I got so tired and I just wanted to see where the story went. This is what I suggest Sonic Team do for the next game. I would say reduce the number of things you have to collect and limit it to only the Chaos Emeralds and one main collectible. Cause the Vault Keys, the Portal Gears, the Memory Tokens, it's too much. Do it how Odyssey does it, cause that way when you limit yourself to one main collectible, you can put it in ways where finding them using your creativity feels more rewarding. Instead of having a situation where it's like, oh what's this? My curiosity has been rewarded with the Portal Gear? Aw man, but I really wanted a Vault Key, damn it. You see what I mean? Now, there are other ways to collect vault keys, which are used to open Chaos Emeralds, which are cyberspace stages. These are where the traditional style of Sonic gameplay from Unleashed to Forces resides in. And for the most part, they're harmless. Most of them only last about 1 to 2 minutes level design wise. My issue is the controls. Like, why are they so bad? You're too slow, it feels like you have no control mid-air, the homing attack has a delay, the boost filter music is a thing in these stages, why? And all of the cyberspace stages only have 4 aesthetics: Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, and some city level where I couldn't tell whether it was Speed Highway or City Escape, to be honest with you. Now look, I don't mind reusing level themes. I basically grew up playing the Sonic spin-off games where all they did was reuse stage assets. My issue, and I'm sure many people can agree with me on this, is that they decided to use the exact same ones used in Sonic Generations. I get that they're levels people liked in those games, that's the reason they got into Generations in the first place, but you guys do realize that there are other good stages in the classic Sonic games too, right? Like, what about Starlight Zone, Mystic Cave, Hilltop Zone, Marble Garden, Hydrocity, it's one word, kiss my ass, Launch Base, come on guys. Other stages exist in those games too. Not only that, but they reuse level designs from other Sonic games, which honestly confuse me. Like how the first cyberspace stage being Windmill Isle Act 1, 1-4 being Modern Green Hill, 2-2 being Dragon Road Act 2, and oh boy, my anxiety did spike up when I got to this level. Well, at least they can let me grab this one. Oh, my nose is itchy, not now, please. I never understood why they did this. Granted, when I was playing, there were times where I was like, oh hey, this is so-and-so level. But once that novelty wore off, it just felt cheap, you know? I honestly felt like they took the cyberspace levels and were about to reach the deadline for the game, so they just panicked and made the games look and play like older games. Granted, my issues aside, there were ones that I actually enjoyed playing through, especially 4-4 and 4-2 specifically. Those were fun to speedrun. But most were either mid or just really fucking annoying. Now, Sonic Frontiers has 5 islands you can explore around in: Kronos, Ares, Chaos, Rhea, and Oranos. My personal favorite being Ares, mainly because of Knuckles and the music. Chaos is probably the one where most folks got really stuck on. I know I sure as hell did. The Chaos Emeralds were so far apart from one another, and I got lost so many times trying to navigate and collect them, to the point where I had to take a break and come back. It also didn't help that there was this giant ass bridge in Chaos Island that I was trying to climb up, but once I got over it and beat it, it was just an invisible wall, so well, fuck you too then. Oh, now would be a good time to talk about the Guardians, the mini-bosses essentially of this game. These enemies are not too bad, but oh boy can they get annoying. Cause some of the mini-bosses will appear in multiple islands with different color schemes like I said earlier, but the ones who gave me the most shit are easily Tank and Caterpillar. Jesus Christ, fuck these guys! What pissed me off about these two mostly is how depending on how close you are to them, they'll force you into their fight, and in Tank's case, it's utter hell. Cause motherfucker will become a vacuum and make Sonic basically free fall. Sometimes he charges you at random. I'll admit it, when I learned how to beat, it became easy. But every time I saw that close-up and I see him, I was like, no! And ran the hell away. Next, I want to speak about the Coco quest that Amy, Tails, and Knuckles do. Amy was the first one, so we'll start with her. Her first quest was to dodge bees and Psyloop flowers. This was really difficult for me because I kept hitting the bees, and I would always get so close to meeting the quota that I tried Psylooping multiple flowers at once. I even bought the quick Psyloop ability to see if getting that would help me get more points, but sadly to no success. If only a nigga were to read the instructions clearly, learn that you have to Psyloop the grass and not the flowers unless you want to distract the bees. But yeah, once I did that, her shit became easy. Knuckles wasn't too bad either. The first one gave me a bit of shit because what you gotta do is grab the Coco from the ground pounding towers and bring them to Knuckles. The only problem is I tried to grab a lot of them at once, so my bad on that. But it also felt like they were targeted to slam the second I got close. Like it would be rising and I think, oh, I can grab the Coco now. And then all of a sudden, BAM! I get hit. Very annoying. His next one had me just rounding up the Coco, so every time I got close, they would run towards Knuckles, which was also harmless, except for those bombs that would go off in the dust and just fucking... And then his next one would just have me climb up the tower enemies and kill them in one hit. Easy shit, easy shit. Tails' Coco quests are where I really started to hate these things. In his first one, you have to break these boxes and collect parts for an aircraft the Coco was building. 2 things. 1, the timer, and 2, the falling platforms. Next, Sonic has to skydive downwards in order to bring down the bridge that I was trying to get to earlier, but got fucked up by an invisible wall. And another thing, the timer. Oh my god, the timer. Fuck this one especially. Next, I want to talk about the things you have to do before retrieving the 6 Chaos Emeralds. In Chronos, you have this confusing as hell light puzzle with pillars, where each one you decide to move moves either 1 or 2 as well. Oh my god, I spent an ungodly amount of time on this. You know what? Let's see how long it took me to complete this challenge. Yes! I got it! Oh, finally, dude! Oh, finally! That took forever. Jesus Christ, help me. The one on Ares wasn't so bad at all. All you had to do was just use a magnet machine and put the colored balls into their slots. Really wish they started off with this one instead of that light one, good lord. In Chaos, you have to play pinball, as mentioned earlier. Now, pinball in Sonic games have been very hit or miss for me. Like how in Sonic 2 it was fine, but in Heroes it made me want to jump off a bridge. This one, however, took the Sonic Adventure approach and just takes too long. Like, it gets to the point where the quota is so high and pinball isn't all that fun to me, it just becomes bland and I turn my brain off. Well, at least the music was nice. Now we can talk about the boss fights. The first boss, Giganto, you fight the monster as Super Sonic, and to be honest, I was a little worried at the fact. Usually Super Sonic is a final boss shtick, so seeing him in the first one had me a little worried. But let me tell you right now, these boss fights are some of the greatest bosses in Sonic history. I'm willing to say that. Not only does it have music that really nails the feel of playing as Super Sonic, but each one just got better and better. My personal favorite moment being how Sonic finishes off Knight. He punches Knight, causing it to drop its sword, and then Super Sonic uses the sword and slices Knight in half! And when I saw that moment, I legitimately lost my mind. Now, the reason why I was so hyped at this fact is because growing up, I didn't have many consoles. Like, I only had a Wii until about 6th grade. So my main source of Sonic entertainment was television and computer flash games. And man, when I saw Super Sonic with that sword, my mind instantly went to Final Fantasy Sonic. That was such a great moment for an early 2000s kid. I'm sure many people can agree with me on that. Now, at first the Titans gave me a little bit of trouble because I couldn't dodge their attacks fast enough because of the dodge delay. But I was then told by my Twitch chat in the tutorial that I could just parry it, and it greatly helped me. Also, can I just mention how broken the projectile moves are as Super Sonic? Like, cross-slash absolutely shredded boss fights, and I was taken aback at how easy it ended up being. But at the same time, I don't mind an easy ride as long as I'm enjoying myself. And as far as the boss fights go, I greatly enjoyed myself. My only issue with them is that you can only play them once outside of the final boss, and I'll get to that one in a second. Like, I really enjoyed these, and I want to play them again, but sadly, that's not in my control, and that makes me sad. Now for the final boss, do I got a bone to pick with this asshole. So it starts off with Supreme, which is basically just Giganto with a Glock, so I was a little disappointed at that fact, but he also was super fucking easy. Like, I was really upset at that fact. But of course, that wasn't the real final boss, and it was actually the end. And oh lord, do I got something to say about this fucking thing. First off, this boss would not shut the fuck up. Every time I died, it would repeat the same lines, and it's like, I heard you already, shut up and let me focus. Second of all, they made the final boss a fucking space shooting minigame, which would have been fine if it wasn't so difficult. Like, Jesus, the amount of times I died in this fight is actually nuts. Keep in mind that all the times I did the boss fights, I didn't die a single time, but the end was the one that did it for me. I mean, bonus for giving me a little bit of challenge, but Jesus Christ, what the fuck? After the end, the game just ends? You're really gonna make the final boss of this game a glorified minigame? No! I want a fucking climactic showdown in space! I wanted another Super Sonic versus Perfect Dark Gaia type of moment. Granted, that boss sucked in the HD version, but still, I wanted them to pull all the stops with this last one, but no? Really? Man. some moments I wrote down in my notes that I didn't know where to place in the video, so I'm just putting it here. First things first. This game's soundtrack is something great. It has hard rock, lo-fi, EDM, drum and bass. There's something for almost everyone in the soundtrack. I especially like the song in Cyberspace 4-6. Like, come on, man, this song is so good. Someone should really make a YouTube Poop music video on this song. Oh, wait. I already did!
People want to know.
Some of my other favorite tracks were, let's see, I like Cyberspace themes 4-3, 3-5, 4-8. I like Squid's theme, the final movement in Chaos Island. I really like Knight's boss battle theme, Find Your Flame. That song just makes me feel like a kid again. Ugh, this soundtrack is too goated. Honestly, Roger Craig Smith still isn't my personal choice for Sonic, but I can 100% say with certainty this is probably his best game in terms of acting. I also really like Amy. At first I wasn't too fond of it, but hearing it more, I kind of like it. Knuckles, Tails basically sounds the same, so no complaints there. He has a great voice. I really hope the next Sonic game that comes out after this has a more thought out cosmetic system. Like, imagine Sonic in his rider's gear, or, I don't know, his SA1 model, like how Odyssey did with 64 Mario. That would truly be awesome. They're kind of going there slowly with the soap shoes and the DLC Tims, but I really want them to expand on this. It'll be so much fun. This game should 100% have a photo mode, man. Like, this game is gorgeous, and I want to make one of these photos my wallpaper, but not yet. Frontiers 2, maybe? So I didn't know about this until I finished writing the script for this video, but it turns out that the final boss, the End, and Vandalize, you know, the ending theme for Sonic Frontiers, are actually difficulty sensitive. Like, remember all the shit that I gave the End? Well, it turns out it only happens if you decide to play the game in hard mode. If you play the game on easy or normal, it just does the glorified QuickTime event where Sage throws Sonic at the end. And Vandalize only plays on easy and normal difficulty. If you play on hard, you get the song One Way Dream, which is a nice song once you read the lyrics and find out it's a message from Sonic Team to us fans. But Vandalize was such a great song, and I really wanted to hear it in the credits. But when I didn't, I was a little disappointed at that. So sometimes in Sonic Frontiers, you'll find these purple coins that you can use in Big's fishing minigame, but sometimes random nights will be moments where star showers appear, and they do things such as respawn enemies and such, but also have these slot machines running, and they put it on the center of the screen, which is annoying. At first it was fine, but after the third time it happened, I was so tired of it, and it doesn't stop until the nighttime is over, so it's like, what the fuck? Now, as far as cutscenes go, the animation themselves are not the best, but the camera work is phenomenal. I have never seen Sonic Team use so many different shots, like the use of close-ups and high and low angles and more. Like the one close-up on Sonic's hands to show him growing impatient to the magic voice lady, that was really well done. I hope future Sonic games make more use of different camera shots, while also touching up the animations. And I think that about wraps up my review video for Sonic Frontiers. This one for me was especially hard to make in particular because in the previous two that I did, I looked up some other review videos to help me better tell the story and to remind me of some points I may have missed out on. Now, Sonic Frontiers isn't perfect. There are a lot of issues that should be fleshed out in an eventual sequel, but honestly, I did have more times where I was happy or at peace than I was disappointed, sad, or angry. I wouldn't recommend Sonic Frontiers as somebody's first Sonic game story-wise, but gameplay-wise, considering that we're all starting fresh with this new gameplay style that Sonic Team is cooking up, I'd say give it a shot. However, it is $60, so I would say wait for it to be a price drop. It's definitely not like a must-buy game, like this game is not peak of all peak fiction, but it is a good game, and if you are interested in it and it's on sale, that's a win-win in my opinion. Is it in my top 10 favorite Sonic games? No. Is it better than Sonic Generations? Definitely not. But I left Sonic Frontiers craving more, and that should be noted as well. I hope whatever mainline Sonic game comes next, whatever comes out in the series, I genuinely believe that if they take all the stuff from Sonic Frontiers, flesh out all the issues that I stated in this video, and just build upon all the good stuff, we might actually see the greatest Sonic game to ever come out of all time. I will firmly stand by that. Whether it's Sonic Frontiers 2, Sonic Adventure 3, whatever it will be, if they take Frontiers as a basis and build upon it and make it better, we will definitely be looking at something truly amazing that I'm sure all of us will love. And I think that about covers my review. So I better leave before I fuck it up. Well, with that being said, this is JPL signing out. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go make more YouTube Poop music videos on the soundtrack now. And some other music content as well. Hope you guys look forward to that. And like I said, this is JPL signing out. I thank you all so much for watching. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.